Okay, so I'm here at home. Today is Saturday, so Noe's at the studio running that, and I'm here while the kids drive me nuts. But I figure, one, we keep the kids here typically as much as we can as to the studio because we know that they can get a little bit, and they want to get involved in a lot of stuff. And so we want to create a space for people to enjoy without this. Hold on one second. Okay, proves my point. But anyway, so we keep them here when we can. The studio is mostly Noe's, even though I paid for everything. But I mean, it's mostly Noe's. We paid for it together, obviously. We're a married couple. But um, so she is the creative mindset behind all of it. So, and also people would rather see her face than mine. I mean, let's just be real. So she's there gearing up for a big party tomorrow, but that's not at all what this video is even about. What this video is about is the affordable housing problem that is in Tacoma. Now, it's not a big secret that affordable housing is an issue throughout the entire region. And I'm talking from the Canadian border all the way down to Olympia. There's a problem with affordable housing. And some people think that affordable housing means housing for people on Section 8. That's just not always true. Affordable housing also affects people who are your typical middle income folks, but they're not making the amount of money that's needed to stay in a regular apartment, just a normal apartment or just a house. So what you have is a lot of people down here, they're not making the money that they should, but the housing costs keep going up very fast. I've done videos talking about it. So there creates this imbalance where people really and truly are spending a tremendous amount of money just on rent or mortgage, and they have very little money for anything else. And so it affects the quality of life. Well, the city of Tacoma is trying to address that as well as a lot of cities in this region, but they're running into a problem. Now, one thing that I will say that Seattle did that I really and truly thought was a good idea and still do. Now, how they spend it, I don't. That's a different story. But they have a soda tax, and the soda tax. At first, I'm like, that's creative, but it seems like they try to tax everything up there. I'm not against taxes, but I mean, they find a tax for every single thing you can think of. It becomes crazy. I mean, they're really inventive. Some of the folks that come up with these tax proposals, but this one actually I liked. I thought was pretty good. The soda tax does two things. One, the design of it was to basically tax the amount of soda sales. So any soda beverage would be taxed, and the money would go towards healthy eating campaigns and all of that type of stuff, right? And I think that's a great thing. Um, Now, how they're spending the money is a different story. Some people are saying they're dumping some of the money into the general fund and X, Y, and Z, right? Well, I think here in Tacoma, we should do something very similar. I mean, we pretty much copy everything that Seattle does almost. So, this is something that we should do. Now, the tax in Seattle is a 1.75 cent per fluid ounce tax. I don't know if it should be that much or what the amount should be, but for Seattle, they made in the first 9 months, they made $17 million. 17 million. Now, granted, much bigger population, we wouldn't generate nearly anything close to that, but we have a tremendous amount of soda drinkers down in this area. You know what I mean? So, to me, I think this would be a great plan to lower the amount of obesity rates here, which it takes more than just soda, but to address that health issue. Two, I think they should ban sodas out of schools. There's a lot of places that are doing that, but they shouldn't have sodas in school, in my opinion. I know back in the day, we used to have the 50 cent, this is telling my age. We used to spend 50 cents and we can get our, soda, and it's a special thing. But we didn't have vending machines that just were out like that, really. Like they were like few and far between. But anyway, regardless, I don't think they should have those actually in school. I think that those should be things that shouldn't be there. But the soda that is actually in grocery stores and different places at the bars, I think there should be a tax on it. And I think it should be used for things like affordable housing. Do I think it should also be for a healthy eating campaign and All that other stuff too, sure, but I think a good chunk of that should go towards affordable housing. Part of the problem with Tacoma and the affordable housing is that land prices are so expensive and the cost of building is so expensive, but then at the same time, they're trying to keep prices in line so that people can afford them and make them affordable, right? So there's that hard piece. Now, the city has different programs of how they handle that. Sometimes they offer subsidies, they offer tax credits, they do a lot of different things to help make up the difference, but it's not really enticing developers to jump at it and to really do it. I think the city should go at it alone, to be honest with you. The city has a lot of land that not a lot, but there's land the city owns that they could easily get into the process of luring developers there to build it, to build the property. They could go half in or whatever the case may be, but I think the city should do it. The other thing is the city should do some upzoning of its own. Seattle has done that. I think Tacoma should require that a developer builds a certain height of building. We have too many buildings here that are 5, 6 stories tall, and the problem is they take up valuable pieces of land, but they don't house a whole lot of people. So then you run into the situation of we're running out of space, we're still getting more people in, and we're having a problem. And Seattle is coming into that same realization. For a long time, there was a lot of single family homes, still is, and a lot of mid-rises that were developed in other places. Now you're seeing downtown Seattle a lot of big tall buildings, but they're running completely out of space. We're doing the same thing here. I think the city should require that developers and offer more incentives for them to build higher. The higher you, the less of an impact you have on an environment is a smaller impact or smaller blueprint. I can't even talk. So we want to make sure we build up and add more people, and that makes a lot more sense. You're able to pack more people in. The project will pay for itself. The city can help developers in that way. I think that we're able to attract developers by doing that, and I think that it also would address the affordable housing issue. Now, recently, a nonprofit bought this old Rite Aid that's in the Hilltop, and they're going to develop that old Rite Aid building, which had been sitting there for a while, just growing grass and weeds. They're going to redevelop that site and possibly turn it into affordable housing. But again, we go back to the point of it's probably going to be a building that's not very tall. And what's going to happen is that's great, but it's just kind of like, throwing a penny in a well. It just doesn't really do much. And yeah, some people say, sure, you need every bit of housing you can get. I get it. But that's where we're running into a problem. I think the city could even help them and say, look, add some more floors to this, add more residents to this. This building that nonprofit's going to build is actually all, based on what they're claiming, all affordable housing. So I think that's good, especially in Hilltop, because that neighborhood needs to keep its character as much as possible. It's changing rapidly. So that's great too. The affordable housing part of that is needed drastically. And also it gets rid of the blight. That building is very unattractive. So the more you can change that and keep the character of the community intact, the better. The other part of that, and the other issue too, is affordable housing keeps the prices a little bit lower for everybody. The more affordable housing you have, it keeps everything kind of in check. If you don't have it in check, the prices just keep going up, 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 and then it spreads out. So then cities that have nothing to do with anything start to experience the same pain. That's why you're seeing places like Olympia starting to see the price go up, and even statewide, you're starting to see the price of everything starting to go up in terms of housing, mainly due to just the natural course of things, but a lot of it has to do with this region. So it's becoming more and more difficult for people. I go back to what I said before. If you're able to, I have different people who will contact me, and I appreciate it. And we've had some people come into the studio who watch the channel, and I appreciate that too. I'm no different in real life than I am on here. I'm kind of the type. I'm not that talkative in real life, so that's a little different. But We have people that come in. I love seeing them, and I love answering people's questions whenever they write to us or what have you. But I go back to saying that if you want to live here, probably, and you want to work in Seattle, there's a lot of people that do. I mean, I park at that Tacoma Dome parking garage, and I can tell you, all 6 floors on the east side's typically filled up. All 7 floors on the other side's typically filled up, and those are commuters going to Seattle. But if you really and truly want to live in this area, work in Seattle, work down here, wherever you're going to be working at, I would say buying a house is probably something you need to do. It's becoming so expensive that south is pretty much where it's at. Even going north is no longer really a viable option because it's just so pricey. Anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.